some 6 decades since Nigeria discovers crude oil, the country's oil and gas industry still faces a shortage of skills that threaten the growth and development of the key sector of the economy. But while Nigeria produces thousands of engineering graduates each year, there's still a huge gap in practical training and skills development. And that's what my guest is chatting to me tonight about. On this very important subject, welcome my guest, Dr. Benjamin Ubleble, the Executive Secretary at the Solewant Energy Training Institute. It's good to have you on the show tonight, Doctor. We appreciate making it to our Abuja studios.
Thank you, Bosun. It's my great pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Good to have you. Let's hit the ground running. Talk to me. What are the key issues? What are the key issues that resulted in inadequate practical skills and trading in the oil and gas industry, even though we've produced oil and gas for about 60 years plus?
Yes, thank you very much. That question is at the heart of where the problem lies, because it is good that Nigeria is expanding in terms of population. The numbers are rising. We've actually also increased in the issue of universities, a number of universities, across the country, both public and private. And then in the area of engineering education, like you did mention, the issue has, been more of too much emphasis on theories. Our curriculum that we operate right now, including the engineering curriculum, places a lot of, premium on things, of theory. And then when these graduates come out of school, they don't have that readiness, the industry readiness to move directly into the industry. So that is one problem at one side. And then there is another thing of the readiness of the system in itself. How many opportunities are we creating in terms of job availability for these graduates that are coming? Of course, you will say that some of these persons who are coming from the universities are ready to be absorbed into the system. Some of them may have had some of their internship trainings and through their NYSC, but there is more demand to it. The industry is an industry that requires high level of technicality from these persons that are coming into the sector. How ready are universities and polytechnics and all of that? Technical institutions and departments ready to transmit relevant skills, for the readiness of the sector. That is it. That is where, much of the problem, lies in terms of curriculum, not in terms of knowledge base that the professors in schools are not doing the right. No, they have the training, I have the ability because I'm a product of the system. So I understand that the teachers in schools have the knowledge that is necessary to blend, the right skill for the industry. But there is the issue of practice, the lack of practice, adequate practice through their training procedures. You find it firsthand when you onboard this set of graduates into the system. They have to go to the process of training, retraining, reskilling, upskilling, and all of that at all levels through vertical, processes and horizontal as well, which means we need to deepen the knowledge that they have as fresh graduates. And of course, there are some players in the industry that also require additional skills, especially looking at new areas of technology that have emerged. How is the industry ready, to absorb these persons with extra abilities, deepening their skill sets so they can meet up exactly with what the industry requires. The standard in the industry is world-class, it's top-notch. For you to fit into the system, you must have the readiness in terms of mental ability, in terms of technical ability, and a blend of skills. So it is necessary that we understand this, that going forward, the gap in the sector has to be adequately addressed. And there again, there is a third factor to it. Most of these guys who come from the universities, because our rewarding system, the onboarding into the few available slots that are there in IOCs and NOCs that are emerging are quite limited. And then you see a whole number of them drift away because of labor migration. You've seen a huge number of these young graduates that have moved overseas. Some of them go to the Arab countries because the attraction there is higher than what we offer here. The ability to train, ability to onboard into the system, valuable talent, is even, you know, a lesser issue compared to talent retainership. When you bring these guys into the system and you don't provide the necessary conditions for them to thrive in the system and elsewhere in the world, there are better opportunities for them to go and explore. You know exactly what happens, that
yes.
the labor migration to greener areas of the world is an issue that keeps, you know, the industry, you know, looking for trained, qualified, and, you know, wide knowledge-based area professionals in the sector.
I get it, and that's quite a shame, as it were, that we started oil and gas production, hydrocarbon, but we couldn't retain. We're just training and everything. But we need this. Who should lead this new horizon of engineering that are technical, that are upskilled? Is it a private sector that will do that? The academia are trying to do their own through the classrooms?
Yes, there must be a meeting point, and that is where a discussion like this is very key in our industry. You know, of course, the first point of call would be the government. Government drives the development process because oil is key to us. Because oil appears, you know, we made it to be the mainstream of our economy, despite, you know, array of other resources that we have, solid minerals and all of that. That agriculture is an opportunity, but there is much emphasis on the oil and gas sector, the energy sector as a whole. Government have to drive the process in terms of policy, in terms of legislation. Of course, you will agree with me that the government has actually improved in terms of legislation and policy, you know, the new laws that came up and all of that, but that is not enough. We need to take this discussion beyond the frontiers of Nigeria. Nigeria have been at the forefront of oil production for quite a number of years now. We need to show leadership. Leadership is key in terms of bringing other African countries that oil is just coming up across the continent, that we actually need to do that, you know, intentionally by driving the direction that all these developmental trends need to follow. Some other African countries are looking up to us for us to show the direction. So I see other intergovernmental agencies that the African Union, like the intergovernmental agencies, that the African Development Bank, and other regional bodies, they need to come together, align national government policies with intergovernmental, you know, continent-wide, across the African continent. There has to be a consortium of partnerships, creation of, you know, extra value. So when we meet at this level, beyond that, even the non-governmental sector has a role to play. And then we have public-private partnerships where our sector is actually positioned to drive processes in line with what we are saying, that after the policy, after the regional bodies meet to implement them at national level, institutions across the continent need to come together to form partnerships to drive this process that we're talking about.
All right, so talk to me about how your institution, the Solewant Energy Training Institute, is stepping up to this very important knowledge gap, practically speaking, within the industry. Even as we see technology change almost on a daily basis, regularly within the energy space.
Yes, the Solewant Group, which is comprising of 5 subsidiaries, has the Solewant Energy Training Institute, which I manage as one of the subsidiaries. For about 25 years now, the industry has been into the oil and gas sector in this area of pipe production, pipe milling, pipe coating, and all other associated solutions targeted at enhancing not just the aesthetics of the pipe, but asset integrity management. Across Nigeria, there are pipes everywhere. Across Africa, pipes everywhere. What do we do with these pipes? If we do not protect, the human factor is at stake. The environmental factor is at stake. You are aware of the problems that oil has caused in Nigeria, and since oil is coming up in other parts of Africa, this is the opportunity for us to take the issue of expertise more seriously. Now, this is what the Institute has been created to fill. The gap that we are mentioning in this sector is not just a thing that ought to be left for the government alone. We have risen to that responsibility by setting up this institution to address the skill gap areas. Gap areas in the area of pipe coating, pipe fabrication, steel processes, and all of that, energy sector, trainings as a whole. And then there are these new technologies that are emerging: artificial intelligence, robotics, automation, edge computing, blockchain. There are quite a number of them that are very interesting. Internet of Things, and all of that. Sensor engineering. These areas are very key to the energy sector as a whole, because the value chains in the energy sector need to be enhanced and properly positioned to maximize profit for capital owners. And not only that, for protection of those areas that I mentioned, the environment is another key sector. The human side of it is another sector. For Solewant Group, we are interested in people, pipe products, and solutions, which means as we are protecting the assets in the industry, not just the oil and gas alone, including the water pipe everywhere. Wherever there are pipes, our engineering expertise goes beyond, protecting it in our facility. We follow them to various swamp areas or any area where these pipes are laid to ensure that the assets are protected for the benefit of today's generation and the future as a whole.
Yes, so you talk about this institute and what you do in terms of supporting the industry, and again the type of certification and whatever that is available. Where are we on that? Because we need research, innovation, and technology all come together here. Let's summarize on that note.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, the Institute, one aspect of it is the training that we have talked about. We go beyond that. We also have Solewant Energy Journal of Energy Innovation. That journal is, a peer-reviewed journal that focuses on researches in the area of energy sector as a whole, with peer-reviewed papers that are published on it. That is one aspect. Secondly, we have also reached out to our training modules are modular. We do online trainings, and we also have training in our facility in New Edifice at number 2 Mogba Street in Port Harcourt area of Nigeria. We have over 40 professional courses and certifications that are currently ongoing. We are in partnership with the university, some lecturers from the University of Ibadan, Faculty of Engineering and Engineering Technology, some from Federal University of Technology, Owerri, some from Rivers State University, and we are still open to more. We do all of these trainings. Some of them are executive level trainings ranging from weeks or 2, 3, 4 weeks, some to months, depending on the curriculum that we've designed, targeting the gaps in the industry. So as fresh persons come from the university, we're able to embed some of these relevant skills for them to be active in the industry. And also the ones that are already in the sector. When you don't train, you become like an artifact that is dumped somewhere. That's where training, retraining, up-training, reskilling, and all of that are very important. When you upskill, you increase your capacity. And capacity is one area that is highly, highly relevant in the energy sector as a whole, because the value chains that are emerging require highly technical knowledge. For us to do that, our readiness is to prepare the next set of energy professionals with relevant skills. Not just skills, but skill sets for them to thrive in the industry. It is not left for the partnership that we're talking about to emerge, to be able to attract the talent that come, because we may not be able to absorb all the talent and the expertise that we produce from our training programs. We take a lot of them into our system, but a whole lot of them will be available for them to be absorbed by other companies that operate in Nigeria. And in the Solewant Group Roadmap Plus, we have itemized a set of goals that we want to see in the next 10 years, which is to take our programs, products and services beyond Nigeria to other African countries. As I'm talking to you now, we are in talk with Namibia. We have programs that are going to run in Namibia. We were in Algeria for the Inter-Africa Trade Fair. We have been going to other places in Africa, in Ghana as well. We want to take what we are doing in Solewant for 25 years. We've shown capacity, because it is by our capacity that we have been able to attract the projects that we run for IOCs. We have over 100 projects that have been successfully executed, and as I speak to you now, we are at the verge of signing more agreements with some of the companies to see how we move to the next level. So the Roadmap Plus is to target Africa as a whole. So we want to partner with some of the companies that are out there in terms of our trainings, in terms of knowledge sharing, in terms of coming together to pool resources together for knowledge co-creation's sake. And not only that, individual knowledge co-creation and then the institutional level of partnership. Just at the Solewant Group Africa 9th Energy Summit, the Africa Innovative Funding Network was unveiled, which basically is to pool the resources of some of these companies that are in the energy sector together to leverage on that strength so that we'll be able to harness capital as a group. And then go into Africa and see how we take the leadership across Africa in terms of investment, strategic investment in some of these areas that we have seen that most of our African countries they need that leadership and they need the expertise. So we are ready to partner. We are ready to move across Africa
I'm looking at
this in place.
Yes, I know. Whether you talk training, you need finance and everything else in between. But of course, the industry, your industry keep moving, and some of us in the media just keep running after you folks every day with all the developments that are happening. But we thank you so much for your time, and we appreciate having you on the show tonight. Congratulations also on that, your recent hosting of the African Energy Summit here in Nigeria. Do have a pleasant evening. Dr. Benjamin Ubleble, the Executive Secretary at the Solewant Energy Training Institute.